"I gave everything and only received betrayal in return," Sharon Stone cried out in bitterness. The woman who once set the world on fire with her iconic leg-crossing scene in Basic Instinct, the ultimate sex symbol of the 1990s, turned out to be just another victim in a cruel game. At 67, the truth is revealed. Sharon Stone is no immortal goddess. She is a woman rejected by love, betrayed by Hollywood, and crushed by fate. A marriage that seemed perfect was nothing more than a disguise for nights of secret affairs and infidelity. And when the truth came to light, what became of Sharon? Which man made Sharon Stone love so blindly, only to break her down? What did Hollywood do to push her into an abyss so deep that it nearly killed her in a hospital bed? And in the end, what price did Sharon pay for her golden years of glory? This is the true story. Every stab in the back, every scar etched into Sharon Stone's heart, told like a living nightmare. Basic Instinct premiered, and the world went insane. With just one leg-crossing scene, Sharon Stone leapt from a B-list actress straight to a global A-list star. All of Hollywood called it the most powerful sex scene of all time. But behind that meteoric rise, Sharon carried a wound too painful to name. The other woman who destroyed someone else's family. That was the first knife Hollywood stabbed into Sharon Stone. Who gave her that fame? Which man was secretly having an affair with her behind the cameras? At 34, Sharon was dazzling, sharp, and dangerous like a blade. She had just left her husband and was desperately searching for true love. Michael Douglas, 48, was already a top star, but also a married man with wife Diandra Luker and a young son waiting at home. On screen, Sharon Stone and Michael Douglas pushed sexuality to the edge. Long, uncut, raw scenes. Audiences were shocked, but that trembling wasn't just in the script. On film, they were acting. Off screen, every touch became another script, unwritten, unfilmed, fueled only by desire and secrecy. Michael Douglas wasn't just a co-star. He was a king, rich, famous, powerful, and experienced in love. Meanwhile, Sharon was new to stardom, still lost among lavish parties and million-dollar contracts. Douglas knew his advantage. He whispered in her ear after tense shoots, calling her the smartest actress I ever worked with. For a woman starving for recognition, those words dripped like honey straight into Sharon's heart. And then, the inevitable happened. One rainy San Francisco night, after filming the famous interrogation scene, Sharon was seen leaving Michael's hotel, wrapped tightly in a coat. The paparazzi snapped a blurry photo, but it was enough to explode across the tabloids. Sex scene not just on screen. Michael Douglas stopped hiding. He escorted Sharon to small events, sometimes even holding her hand backstage. Each gesture cut Diandra deeper. She once hinted in an interview, "I watched the movie," but the real pain wasn't in the theater. For Sharon, it was her first taste of sweetness and bitterness mixed together. To be close to a powerful man, but branded as the homewrecker. The press gave her a cruel name, the leg-crossing homewrecker. And from that moment, Sharon's life veered onto a path she could never return from. When Basic Instinct premiered in March 1992, Sharon's career skyrocketed. But at the same time, Douglas's marriage cracked in public. The sin of the sex scene spilled out of theaters and onto front pages. The cause? Sharon Stone. Douglas, though briefly public with her, eventually pulled away to protect his career. Sharon was left alone, taking the full force of the storm. That night, in her Los Angeles penthouse, she confided to a friend, "I only wanted to be loved, but in the end, I was just a witness to someone else's divorce." But Douglas was only the first flame, a flame that scorched Sharon's honor, leaving behind a hollow void she desperately tried to fill with another man. A man who seemed to promise safety, but in reality, became a colder prison than the paparazzi's lenses. That man was the second one. The second man, Sylvester Stallone. Miami, summer heat scorching the air. Sharon Stone walked onto the set of The Specialist, where she would star opposite Hollywood's muscle-bound hero, Sylvester Stallone. On screen, they played two people consumed by lust, sweating through sex scenes in a cramped hotel room, the camera lingering, the red lights blazing. But what the audience didn't know, that lingering gaze a few seconds after the director yelled, "Cut," was already a sign of the tragedy to come. Stallone, then 48, had been through multiple wives, infamous for being one of Hollywood's greatest womanizers. Sharon, 36, seemed to have settled into marriage with journalist Phil Bronstein. Yet, during those Miami nights, rumors spread. Stallone often appeared at Sharon's hotel door carrying red wine, his deep voice whispering, "You're too beautiful to be left alone like this." At first, Sharon resisted, but Phil's coldness and distance back home cut into her heart like a dull knife. Stallone didn't stop. A dinner invitation. A brush of the hand that felt too deliberate. A silent moment on the balcony under the moonlight. Each encounter layered into a trap Sharon knew was dangerous, but couldn't escape. Audiences remembered Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct as the woman who dominated men. But this time, the cruel irony. In real life, she was the prey caught in Stallone's net. People thought her fling with Stallone was just a heat-of-the-moment lapse during The Specialist, 1994. But the truth, it was only the beginning of a secret relationship that lasted years. Sharon often used film promotion as her excuse to fly to Los Angeles or New York. Coincidentally, Stallone was always there. Paparazzi weren't fools. They captured the two dining late in dimly lit restaurants, exchanging glances, sharing private smiles. Tabloids splashed the headline, "Basic Instinct Playing Out in Real Life." Meanwhile, at home, Phil Bronstein began to notice the distance. Unanswered calls, odd business trips, cold, clipped explanations. Suspicion grew. Dinner conversations turned into confrontations. Phil asked, "Are you hiding something from me, Sharon?" Silence. Sharon lowered her eyes, glassy and wordless. Phil walked away, gripping his wine glass, hand trembling. For a moment, it seemed divorce was inevitable. But instead of filing papers, Phil chose the opposite. Forgiveness. "I still want this family for our son. For us." That forgiveness wasn't weakness. It was desperation to keep their home intact for the little boy they had just adopted the year before. Sharon broke down in tears. She promised to end everything. For now, the media knew nothing. Their marriage continued, but the cracks remained. Like a mirror patched back together, its image forever fractured. In the days after the scandal, Sharon threw herself into repairing her life. She took her son to the park, cooked dinners at home, smiled at family gatherings. The world saw her embracing her husband in front of cameras and believed their marriage had been reborn. Phil Bronstein tried to believe, or forced himself to believe, that it was over. He gave his wife a second chance, one that countless other women might never receive. But Hollywood doesn't grant easy escapes. Temptation always finds a way back, and soon a third man would emerge, the one who would finally turn Sharon Stone into a sinner in the eyes of the world. The third man, Jack Nicholson. While Sharon Stone was forgiven and still carried the title Mrs. Bronstein, the glittering knights of Hollywood opened the door to another world. And stepping through that door was Jack Nicholson, the ultimate hedonist, a man no wall of morality could ever contain. At first, it was nothing more than conversations that lasted longer than necessary, cryptic messages after award shows. But soon, Sharon began using work as her excuse to meet Jack. They met at his fortress-like mansion on Mulholland Drive, where Nicholson hosted so-called artist gatherings that everyone knew were far from innocent. Rumors swirled. Sharon was seen leaving at 3 a.m., her face drained, but her eyes lit with a spark she had never found in her cold marriage with Phil Bronstein. Jack, with his reckless charm, gave Sharon what she lacked most: the feeling of being desired, of being freed. He whispered to her, "Bronstein may own your name, but I'm the one who holds your soul." The secret meetings became addictive. Hollywood insiders whispered, "Stone has found her real basic instinct off screen." Phil Bronstein, the stoic war correspondent, grew suspicious. One night, he followed her and caught Sharon stepping out of the Laurel Canyon house everyone knew belonged to Nicholson. That single look he gave her, cold as ice, marked the beginning of the end. By 2004, the divorce was finalized. The press reported irreconcilable differences, but the audience whispered, Jack Nicholson was the man who buried that marriage. And the result of this affair? It was never love, never lasting. Jack Nicholson had never belonged to any woman alone. When Sharon's marriage collapsed, Jack walked away as if it had all been nothing more than a passing thrill. Sharon lost her husband, lost her anchor, and in return was left with nothing but emptiness. Jack Nicholson had blown apart the home Sharon Stone once tried so desperately to hold together. Today, at 67, Sharon Stone appears calmer, but her eyes still carry an exhaustion that cannot be hidden. No longer surrounded by sweet flattery or blinding camera flashes, she now lives in the quiet of someone who has walked through the hell of infidelity and heartbreak. The once luxurious villa that was her family home is now filled only with her presence and walls lined with artwork. Tokens of a woman trying to fill emptiness with creativity. Her son is grown, but the bond between mother and child remains the only tether keeping Sharon grounded in life. Sharon once admitted in an interview, "I have loved, I have lost, and I had to learn to forgive myself." But the question remains, have audiences forgiven her? After so many betrayals, after so many broken marriages, Sharon Stone's image has become a paradox. Alluring, pitiful, and resented all at once. She still appears at charity fundraisers, though her steps are slower and her voice sometimes trembles. She lives quietly now, no longer chasing bold film roles, only taking small parts or talk show appearances. Yet every time she steps out, the same questions linger. Who was truly the last man? Has she truly paid the price for her betrayals? Do you believe Sharon is truly a victim of loneliness or merely a woman consumed by endless desire who could never stop? Comment your answer now so we can confront the trembling mix of guilt and truth together. The names: Michael Douglas, Jack Nicholson, Sylvester Stallone. Which do you find the most despicable? Was Sharon Stone a victim of powerful men or a sinner who carved her own downfall? Don't miss any story from Fashionistaclassic 60s. We'll bring you secrets no tabloid could ever capture. Hit subscribe and like to let us know you are with us on this journey ahead.